What is up, everybody? It's Animac here for Anime Uproar, and in this video we will be talking about the villains of Boku no Hero and why I think that the villains play an absolutely crucial role in the story. If Boku no Hero focused mostly on the lives of high school students who are trying to become pro heroes but never had to face off against real villains, the story would be completely different. And while I know that a lot of you guys really like the tournament arc from season 2 and other school-centered arcs, I personally always loved the villain-centric arcs the most, and in this video I will explain why. And what better time to talk about the importance and the appeal of the villains now that we are learning more and more about the different villains and what drives them, what motivates them to do what they do and to be who they are. Last week on Twitter and Instagram, I asked you guys to come up with your own unique ideas for a new villain in the world of Boku no Hero, including their own villain name, backstory, and unique quirk. And I got a ton of awesome responses, so I will be reading some of those at the end of this video. For next week, I want to make a video about Minoru Mineta, but I need your help to decide what exactly to talk about in that video. So be sure to head over to our Twitter and Instagram at Anime Uproar and give me your suggestions on what I should talk about. Both serious suggestions and memes are welcome, and my favorite suggestions will be featured in that video. If you enjoyed the MHA content on this channel, be sure to leave a like to let me know. And if you happen to be new, don't forget to subscribe and Detroit smash that notification bell. Now, the big reason why I think that the villains are so crucial for the story of Boku no Hero is that through their diverse backgrounds and beliefs, they represent the different aspects of the world of Boku no Hero, and they serve as a critique of the hero society. One thing you will notice right away is that the villains in Boku no Hero are all very different. They have different backstories, different ideologies, and different motivations. For example, in season 3 of the anime, we meet a whole bunch of new villains, including Muscular. Muscular is a villain who just enjoys fighting and killing. He is just a violent guy, and even though he is part of the Vanguard Action Squad, when he is asked what the plans of the villains are, he says that he doesn't even care, he just loves fighting. Similarly, Magne is a brutal murderer accused of dozens of violent crimes who joined the villain action squad just for the freedom that comes with being a member of a powerful villain group. Because of course, if you have a strong team of villains around you, then you can commit crimes and do whatever you like without worrying about getting arrested. So on the one hand, we have villains like this who are just violent by nature, just bad people who want to do bad things. But on the other hand, we have villains like Stain who are driven by a clear ideology. Stain wants to expose false heroes who became pro-heroes for their own selfish interests and not to actually help others and make the world a better place. Stain is such a powerful and influential presence as a villain that he actually inspires a bunch of other villains to follow in his footsteps, including people like Dabi, Spinner, and Toga. Although Toga is also a pretty disturbed yandere, so although she is inspired by Stain, she takes it in a whole different bloodthirsty direction. And then we have villains like Shigaraki. He doesn't start out with any clear ideology. His own tragic backstory drove him to hate the hero society and All Might as the symbol of peace. But I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to spoil it for you guys who haven't read the manga. As the manga goes on, we learn about all sorts of different villains, including villains whose goal is to make a fortune by controlling the criminal underworld, villains who want to weaponize quirks to take over entire countries and perhaps even the world, and villains who don't care about money and power as much as they do about fame. They want to be immortalized by becoming the world's most famous criminals. This diversity of villains in Boku no Hero reflects the diversity of criminals in the real world. Some criminals just want money, others are violent and want to hurt others, some just want fame, and others have political and ideological motivations. They want to fight against what they perceive as the injustices of society. So in this sense, the villains of Boku no Hero are appealing to us because they are not all just evil for the sake of being evil, and they're not all the same. We can see how the villains in Boku no Hero parallel the criminals in our own world, and we can imagine that if we lived in a world with quirks, these types of villains might really appear. It's not that far-fetched. In some cases, like with Stain, we can even sympathize with some of the things that he believes in. There are plenty of people in our own world who use money, power, and fame just for their own selfish interests and not to help others. So we can kind of understand how Stain would be outraged by what he sees as false heroes exploiting society for their own advantage. The villains are so important to the story because we first enter the world of Boku no Hero through the eyes of Deku, someone who loves and idolizes pro heroes. For Deku, the Hero Society is an amazing thing and he desperately wants to become a part of it, so he isn't thinking about the negative consequences. Deku doesn't think critically about turning the act of being a hero into a lucrative job instead of a sincere calling. He doesn't necessarily think about the dark side of the Hero Society. However, through villains like Stain and Shigaraki, and through other characters like Koda, we get to explore the dark side of this society. When you turn being a hero into a job that comes with money and fame, you are definitely going to have some people becoming heroes for the wrong reasons. Just look at the flame hero Endeavor and how he is considered to be one of the top heroes in the world, and he is praised for helping people despite the fact that he is actually a terrible person who abuses his own family. Who is going to protect Endeavor's family from him when he has so much power and influence as a pro hero? And when you have a society that is based on the idea that the heroes are there to save everyone and that All Might is the symbol of peace who will protect everyone at all costs, then we run into a problem because we know that in reality it is impossible to protect everyone. And then those people who were not protected, those who were in some way neglected or rejected by the Hero Society, will feel alienated and they will rebel against it. Not to mention Quirks. Quirks are extremely cool and powerful, and we love to talk about them and compare them to each other to see which one is stronger. But we have to remember that powerful quirks can be possessed by terrible people. If heroes have strong quirks, that means that criminals will have them too. And just because you have an epic quirk and you sometimes use it to help others doesn't mean that you're truly a good person on the inside, as we can see with Endeavor. A world with quirks isn't going to be just noble heroes protecting the innocent and having a great time. A world with quirks is a world with a lot of dangerous people walking around and a lot of disasters just waiting to happen. This is the side of Boku no Hero that we would never get to understand without the villains. If we only saw the world through the idealistic lens of someone like Deku, someone who still doesn't understand the dark side of humanity, then Boku no Hero would not have been nearly as good of a story. So the villains in Boku no Hero are appealing for a number of reasons. Let's be honest, many of them are just cool and have cool quirks. But beyond that, they're also very diverse, and it is interesting to compare all their different backstories and motivations. And most importantly, these diverse and interesting villains make Boku no Hero a better story. They make us question the pro-hero society. They make us see the potential downside of a world full of people with superpowers. And so they make the story of Boku no Hero more than just a one-dimensional tale about good guy heroes defeating generic bad guys who are just bad for the sake of being bad. I've said it before and I'll say it again, the villains are in many ways the backbone of the Boku no Hero story. The author, Horikoshi, is aware of this as well, and the way that someone like Shigaraki develops as a character throughout the story in many ways parallels Deku's own development. The main protagonist and the good guys are not the only ones changing, evolving, getting smarter, and getting stronger. Shigaraki and the villains are doing it too. And this is exactly what makes for such a compelling adventure that has the potential to go on for a long time, both in manga and anime form. This isn't just a cliche struggle between good and evil. It's a struggle between different ideologies, different philosophies, different life experiences, and different ways of life. And that is what I love about this story. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like the villains in Boku no Hero? And do you agree with me that the villains play a crucial role in making this series what it is? And by the way, who is your favorite out of all of the villains? Let me know down in the comments. And now for your ideas on Twitter and Instagram about a brand new villain in the world of Boku no Hero. I want to thank everyone who participated. I read all of your responses and I really liked them. I will say though that some of the responses were really long, so while I did read them, I couldn't include them all in this video, and in some cases I had to summarize. All of the responses are still available on Twitter and Instagram if you guys want to go and check them out, but this video would take all day if I tried to include them all. First up on Twitter, Mari actually drew my friend and fellow Anituber Nuxtaku as a Boku no Hero villain. In last week's video, I suggested the idea that Noxtaku is an anime villain, and clearly that idea was accepted wholeheartedly by you guys, including by Noxtaku himself. Great work with this one, Mari. Next up we have Max VDT, and he created a villain who is also named Max VDT. This person stole a prototype helmet from genius inventor Mei Hatsume, and with the help of this helmet, this person can use their imagination to create anything they imagine, but it would only last for 5 hours. Right off the bat, I like the idea of stealing something from Mei, because we know that she's a genius inventor, so I'm curious about all the different things that she could invent and how those things would work together in combination with Quirks. We definitely need to see more of Mei in this story, and I think this villain and their quirk would be extremely powerful. I mean, just imagine being able to create anything. I mean, think about it, you could even bring your own waifu to life, at least for 5 hours. Jospe Ralph proposes a villain named Hydra. The backstory of this villain is that their parents got killed by debris during a fight between All Might and another villain. Their quirk is the ability to manipulate water, and if they get angry, the water will begin to boil. However, the weakness of this quirk is that the user will become dehydrated if they use it too much. I really like this concept of innocent people being killed by accident as a result of All Might fighting a villain. Obviously, All Might would never hurt an innocent person on purpose, but when you're having a battle and using a lot of power in a populated area, there is bound to be some collateral damage. And a villain who was created because of something like this would again be a great way to bring out the dark side of the pro-hero society. Tariq McMaster names his villain Quantum. This villain was hated as a child because he abused his quirk. Now he wants others to feel that hatred. The name of his quirk is Time Mastery, and he can control time on a whim, but he has to use it sparingly because whenever he uses it, he loses 1 week off of his lifespan. I've always been a fan of time-based powers, and I like the concept of losing some of your lifespan whenever you use the quirk, because it would force the villain to use it only in important situations. This is a quirk that would definitely be very OP unless it had a major limitation, and of course losing some of your lifespan I think counts as a major limitation. Ethan Rankin created a villain called Casino. The name of their quirk is Luck of the Draw, and Casino can copy a random quirk he knows of that he's seen before, I assume, but he cannot select which quirk he will get. And all the effects of this quirk will last for 1 hour. He joined the League of Villains hoping to learn about more quirks that he could potentially copy, and he also wanted to learn about All Might and what his quirk is. I actually love this idea of being able to copy a quirk, but not being able to control which quirk you get to use. That would make for some awesome scenes where the villain doesn't know what quirk he just got, so he has to figure it out on the spot. I also see a lot of potential for humor in this, and a quirk like this would really force the user to adapt quickly. I really like this idea. Jeremy Breslin wants to see a villain who spent most of his life homeless because his parents disapproved of him being someone with a quirk. And because of this, he concluded that parents drag their children down emotionally. As for the quirk, it is an impact builder where each hit is stronger the more hits you land. So basically, the bigger your combo of hits, the stronger each subsequent hit becomes. Again, really cool concept. I don't think we've seen this in Boku no Hero yet, but even though most people have quirks, there are still a lot of people who don't. So maybe the parents of this villain are some sort of Puritan religious people who think that anyone with a quirk is a terrible mutant, a deviant, and so on. That would definitely bring another angle into the world of Boku no Hero, and I also like this idea for a quirk. It reminds me of Derrieri's power combo star from the 7 Deadly Sins. And I would definitely want to see a villain like this in action. Nice job, Jeremy. Over on Instagram, we have Yassine Musaid, who wants a villain with that same name. The name of the villain would be Clayman, and his quirk would be Mud. This quirk allows the user to transform their body or parts of their body into mud. But when they use it and the longer they stay in the form, the slower they become. The quirk, of course, allows the user to capture and trap other people using the mud. This quirk reminds me of a Logia devil fruit from One Piece, and I can definitely see it being used to great effect in Boku no Hero. Later in the manga, we meet a pro hero who can turn parts of his body into sand, so this idea is definitely not far from what's possible. Also on Instagram, we have Kampfhabicht. They propose a villain called Shadinja, whose quirk would be Umbral Manipulation. This quirk allows the user to make up to 20 shadow-like replicates of themselves which accurately mimic their moves. He can also switch positions with one of his shadow clones instantly. But the shadow clones cannot hurt anyone, and if the lighting is too bright, the shadow clones will not be able to appear. As for the backstory, this villain was the son of a pro hero who died during a mission because a fellow hero chose to save his own life instead of helping his friend. This caused Shedinja to become disillusioned with the world of pro heroes and turn to the world of crime. This quirk reminds me of the clone technique in Naruto, especially because the clones don't have the ability to hurt someone directly. But if the user of this quirk has extra weapons like Stain does, then this could still be a very useful quirk since you can use the clones to totally distract and confuse your opponent, and then you move in and take them out. Anyway, great ideas guys, really awesome suggestions, thank you all so much. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AnimeUproar so you can contribute to future videos, including the next video on Minoru Mineta. If you enjoyed these videos and want to see more, be sure to leave a like to let me know. And of course, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and Detroit smash that notification bell. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.